nutrition in a century. That's our children right now. And it is because of them. It's because of saving lives that we're doing what we're doing right now, and that's why we're going to win. And the only thing I want to assure the Venezuelan people is that Venezuela is going to be free, and that's going to be achieved with the support of the people of the United States and the President, Donald Trump of the United States. So I'm very grateful to hear we're facing challenging times ahead. We are prepared to do what it takes as a legitimate government. Edmundo González Urrutia and I have been in communication permanently all these days, and we feel not only with a mandate from the Venezuelan people, and that's why I'm here, and that's why what I convey to the President of the United States, but also with a huge task in front of us to prepare with other teams around the world and in Venezuela to take over government when the right time arrives. So thank you very much, and I'm more than willing to hear your questions now. So I believe there is a procedure that has been designed, so because we thought there might be some interest today.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have you, Mr. Machado. I'm going to start off with a question, and then we're going to open it up to the press. My question to you, Ms. Machado, is you know Venezuelan people more than anyone, and that's apparent from the very... You know the Venezuelan people more than anyone, and that's apparent from the very strong support that they've shown for you time and time again. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, I mean, as you know, your country has been destroyed by socialism, Cuba, Russia, and Iran looting your nation, your wealth. Do you see, and the primary victim of this has been the Venezuelan people, do you see a future in which, at all possible, where a free and fair election and return to democracy in Venezuela restores anything but a strong, staunched U.S. ally and a country that leaves behind the shackles of socialism?
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me? I'm not hearing an echo here.
No.
Yeah.
You can hear me.
No.
It's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm very glad to know there's a problem with an echo, right?
Yes.
Okay, different microphone. Can you answer at the podium?
Yes.
No. I'm proposing now. You want me to stand up? You prefer that I stand up?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
That's better now? Okay. Look, I'm very glad to start with this issue because I understand that there are many concerns regarding the transition in Venezuela and compared to previous events in all parts of the world. And I always insist in the difference between what is Venezuela today compared to Middle East countries that went through change in governments or regimes. We're talking about a society that is perhaps the most cohesive in the region. I would dare to say even in the world. I ask you to think any other society in which 90% of the population wants the same. Not only that they reject the actual regime, but we want the same. There are not religious tensions within the Venezuelan society, or racial, or regional, or political, or social. I mean, there was one longing that brought Venezuelans together, and that was, we want our children back home. And it was that demand that I heard all around Venezuela in 2023, when we were moving forward to the primary process, that made me realize how powerful it was to unite a country, to tear down the barriers that the regime had built to divide us, you know, between rich and poor, black and white, left and right, military and civilians, and we brought a country back together. That's why I always said, you know what, Maduro's going to go. We're going to get rid of him one day or the other. What's important is the country that's coming afterwards. And it's a country based on shared values. We want to live with dignity. We want to live with the result of our work, our effort, a society based in merit, and not if you know the chavista who is in certain place at certain time. Women do not want handouts. They don't want to live in a box, give their children a box of food that has a high cost, because then you have to lower your head and repeat what the regime wants you to say, or dress as they expect you to dress. They want to live with their job well done. That's dignity. And that's what Venezuela deserves and wants today. And that's what we represent. So, of course, the result of this hard process will be a society based on these values. A society that is profoundly pro-American. And I want to insist on this. Delcy Rodriguez, yes, she's a communist. She's the main ally and representation of the Russian regime, the Chinese and Iranians. But that's not the Venezuelan people, and that's not the armed forces as well. So I am profoundly, profoundly confident that we will have an orderly transition. This is a complex phase we are right now. Some of the dirty work is being done by them. But then the result of a stable transition will be a proud Venezuela who's going to be the best ally the United States has ever had in the Americas.
We're going to have a person come up and...
Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you very much for coming. I realize there's a lot of interest. We're going to try to get to every question. I'm going to go through a list. There's outlets that have more than one reporter accredited, so I would like to please ask you to raise your hand so we can get one of our kind staff to bring the microphone to you, as I call you out. Julio Vaqueiro from Telemundo, please.
Hola, Julio.
Hola María Corina, qué gusto verte aquí en Washington, D.C. El presidente Donald Trump, su gobierno, está hablando y trabajando con Delcy Rodríguez, así lo han dicho ellos. Usted le dio el Premio Nobel de la Paz al presidente Trump en su encuentro ayer. ¿Qué le dio el presidente a usted? ¿Un reconocimiento de su legitimidad como opositora con el mandato de encabezar esta transición en Venezuela?
Gracias, Julio. Yo no vine a buscar nada para mí. Yo quiero representación del pueblo de Venezuela que eligió a Nobel Peace como presidente electo.
Phone down, man.
Put your phones down.
Put the phone down, man.
Ay, no baje.
No.
They're blocking the cameras with their phones.
Entonces, repito, yo vine en representación del pueblo de Venezuela, que nos dio un mandato. Primero el 22 de octubre de 2023.
Toca cambiar la persona que tiene el audio porque...
Ya va, chicos, un minuto. Vamos a ¿se escucha bien? Vamos a cambiar. ¿Ahora está mejor?
Sí.
¿Ahora sí? Ok, voy a repetir la pregunta la respuesta a la pregunta de Julio. Les decía, yo vine a reunirme con el presidente de los Estados Unidos en representación del pueblo de Venezuela, que nos dio un mandato. El 22 de octubre del 2023, cuando yo recibí más del 92% de los votos en las primarias, y el 28 de julio de 2024, cuando el mundo González Urrutia, en las condiciones más extremas y fraudulentas, recibió 67% de los votos de los venezolanos, y lo probamos. Vine a recibir de parte de él un mensaje para los venezolanos, y es la seguridad de que contamos con los Estados Unidos para avanzar en una ruta donde se haga respetar la soberanía nacional, la libertad, la democracia y la justicia. Hay un proceso muy complejo en marcha, lo sabemos, pero se están dando pasos. Evidentemente, para los venezolanos es una situación cada día, para muchos venezolanos de vida o muerte, y ahí hay una enorme urgencia ética.
pero entendemos que este es un proceso complejo del cual nosotros somos parte y queremos y estamos contribuyendo. Gracias.
Nick Schifrin from PBS, please.
Well, María Corina, thank you so much. It's great to see you in person after seeing you virtually for the last few years. Two questions, if I could, similar to what you just answered, but in English. You had a very good meeting with the president yesterday, but he still maintains a positive relationship and positive language about Delcy Rodriguez. The CIA director was just there. So what's your message to the president and to the United States when U.S. policy is still to support the Chavismo government that still exists in Caracas? And I have to ask, your statement last night said that you felt like you were going to die at one point when you left Venezuela in the boat. Can you just tell us exactly what happened in that moment when you were in that boat? Thank you.
Well, regarding all the details of how and when I left Venezuela, for the protection of those involved and help move get here, I will wait until the regime is no longer in capacity to harm them, to share that in detail. Yes, there was a certain moment in the trip, in the boat, where I was hurt because the waves were very high, over 6 feet, and there was a strong wind, and we got lost in the ocean. We lost the sign of the GPS, and satellite phone stopped working, and Starlink antenna did not work as well, all at the same time, so it was very risky, dangerous, and scary moment, I have to say. And it lasted several hours. But at the end, as I say, you know, we have moved ahead de la mano de Dios. And that's why I believe it is a miracle, and I'm here. And I know that someday I will be able to tell you all the details and thank personally all those that risked their lives in order for this to happen, because they knew it was very important for our cause that I was able to leave my country at that moment. Regarding your first question, look, this has nothing to do with a tension or decision between Delcy Rodriguez and myself. This is about the cartel and justice. This is about a criminal structure that is the regime and the mandate of the Venezuelan people. That's what's at stake at this moment. I'm just one member of a huge movement of millions of Venezuelans that have decided and are committed to be free. And I have no doubt that President Trump, his administration, and the people of the United States support democracy, justice, freedom, and the mandate of the people of Venezuela. I have absolutely no doubt, not only because it's in the well-being of Venezuelan people, but as I say, because it's crucial for the American people. The United States today is a safer nation after January 3rd. And once the regime is out and the transition is accomplished, the United States will not only be a safer nation, but one that will have more prosperity and strength in our hemisphere.
Can we get Eric Martin from Bloomberg, please?
Thank you. María Corina, I'd like to ask you about the timeline for democratic transition within Venezuela, because obviously the Constitution calls for within 30 days a new election. You've already been recognized by a number of countries, including the US in 2024. Mundo Gonzalez as having won that election. The accusations that the election was stolen by the Maduro regime, as you mentioned. You overwhelmingly won the primary in 2023. Do you have an expectation, is your expectation that the next step in this process would be a new election in Venezuela? Do you expect that to happen in 2026? Or what does the roadmap look like from getting from today's government by Nelson Rodriguez, the government de facto that is in control, to a democratically elected government? Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Well, if the Venezuelan Constitution were respected, we wouldn't have 1,000 political prisoners. We wouldn't have 9 million people, fleeing and living around the country. We wouldn't have our president-elect exiled in Madrid. I mean, he would have taken power on January 9, 2024. So 2025, sorry. So we realize that there's no rule of law in Venezuela. I don't know actually if you're aware, Venezuela is currently in the last place globally in terms of rule of law. Out of 142 countries that have been evaluated by the World Justice Project, Venezuela is in place 142. So much for the Constitution. At the end, it is a matter of strength, and that was what made this process, starting on January 3rd, happen. I mean, that was the main difference. The regime realized that they are facing the strength of the people organized, but mostly, in this last phase, the strength of the democratic allies that are concerned about the structure of the regime, of the criminal regime in Venezuela. So this is a process that has several phases. We are in one that is complex, as I said, in which the regime is forced to dismantle themselves. Some of the structures that have been maintaining them in power, starting with the repression system. That requires not only that all political prisoners are liberated, but that they are free. The fact that you are not in a prison doesn't mean that you are free. In Venezuela, they have left the jails, but they cannot speak to the press. They cannot leave the country, and they are still terrified. All torture centers have to be closed, and certainly there have to be guarantees for journalists to speak out, and those who have left the country to come back and organize and make the will of the people be respected. Eric, believe me, I understand the urgency. I have been speaking with the families, not only of those that have been freed, liberated these last hours, but especially with those that have not, and that they don't know where their loved ones are right now. They have simply disappeared. I'm talking about hundreds of people. Actually, we found out in these last hours that there were more political prisoners than we thought, because many families had been scared just even to denounce that their loved ones had been imprisoned or disappeared by the regime. So some of those that have been liberated were not even registered by us. So, and this is still in place. I mean, there is a criminal structure of terror, not only on the civilian population, but also in the military. So that one of the main urgencies and priorities that have to take place in days to come is we need to dismantle that terror structure by the DGCIN or La Casa Militar, which are those that have committed crimes against humanity, and that are those that have not only the civilian but the military under terror and neutralized. Once these steps are taken, then we can move forward in the reinstitutionalization of our government, And eventually, we will have free and fair elections. And I'm talking about governors, mayors, National Assembly. We need to have, the will of the people be expressed freely. I have to remember that in the last election, presidential election, President-elect Nobel Gonzalez won, nearly 40% of Venezuelans that have a right to vote couldn't do it because the regime wouldn't allow them. That's one of the main things we need to correct. Every single Venezuelan living in Venezuela or abroad should have the right to vote as soon as possible. Thank you.
Gaby Peroso.